Good evening. Thank you for tuning in to the Chelley Roy Show. I am your host, Chelley Roy, and we have an amazing show for you guys tonight. I pray that you guys are continuing to be safe and sanitized. I pray that you guys are having a great week as well. So before we get into the show, I always like to start off by thanking my sponsors. The Chelley Roy Show is sponsored by Built on Survival Skills Apparel. We're also sponsored by Liquid Lipo, where you could lose up to a pound a day. For tips on how to become a boss, be sure to check out ShellyBossedup.com. I also want to thank my makeup artist, Amber Singletary, and my photographer, Stephen Tucker. You guys stay tuned and don't go anywhere, because up next we have Miss Queenafi, Mr. Anthony Haythe, and Mr. Mitch Credle. Up next after the break. Do you or anyone you know have a business or a brand you want to promote? Would you like to be a guest or be a part of our studio audience? If so, contact us at thechelleyroyshow@gmail.com or contact us on Instagram at The Chelley Roy Show. Can't wait to hear from you guys.
My name is Khalil and I'm 11 years old and I'm part of Domestic Violence Wears Many Tags.
I've been involved with Queenafi's Domestic Violence Wears Many Tags for about 7 months now.
It's been certainly my pleasure to work with Queenafi. We've collaborated and done many programs together on domestic violence.
I've been blessed by being a part of the organization. I met Queenafi on Facebook just by reading how she was trying to help a woman to leave an abusive situation. I connected with her, she immediately responded, and I saw that this was a woman of action.
My advice is kind of different from what you would hear normally. I don't tell victims to leave the relationship because I know that they can be killed. Coming from my own story, I was victim as well as an abuser in domestic violence situations. So I know that, even when my victims tried to leave, I went after them. I knew every place that they would be in. I knew where the family lived at. I knew what phone numbers to call. I knew the resources in my community to be able to get to my victim right away. So I just don't think it's good for us to continue to tell victims to leave a relationship.
Thank you guys. Welcome back to the Chelley Roy Show. I am your host, Chelley Roy, and my first guest is the founder of Domestic Violence Wears Many Tags. You guys help me welcome Miss Queenafi.
Yes,
welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Welcome, Queen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
So it's so much to talk about.
Yeah.
With not a lot of time, but we're going to try to get through as much of it as we can.
Oh.
So tell us who Queenafi is and what's your story.
Well, Queenafi is the founder of Domestic Violence Wears Many Tags organization. I founded the organization in 2008. One of the organizations that would speak to women, men, teens, boys, and girls about domestic violence and those many tags that it wears.
Okay.
Right? And part of my story is that I was the victim as well as the abuser. So I wanted also an organization that would educate not only victims, but the abuser as well. So
Okay.
that is how my journey began.
Okay.
Having the conversation.
And I'm glad you went into that because as I was doing my research, I saw that your organization supports both victims and abusers.
Yes,
and when I
ma'am.
saw that, I said, wow, that's interesting because not that it's not possible and not that it's the wrong thing to do, but you never see organizations like that support both.
Right.
You typically see organizations that support one or the other.
Right.
So why was that important for you to support
That
both?
was because how else are we going to end it?
Yeah.
You know, it's two people here involved. It's a victim involved. It's an abuser involved. You know, and research says that the abuser was once a victim.
True. Very
So
true.
we
Yeah.
still have to break that cycle. There's still, you know, that behavior there that we still need to look at in terms of, you know, wanting to end domestic violence.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the difference for me. And I know this personally because I was the victim
Absolutely.
as well as the abuser. So I know you cannot just end domestic violence only educating victims.
Absolutely. So you're basically saying that most victims, well, most abusers at one point were victims. So
Yeah.
you don't think that you could be a victim and not take on and repeat that cycle is basically your experience.
Most times, victim turn abuser. Victim turn abuser.
Learn behavior.
Yep,
Yeah.
in a lot of cases. And even if you don't go on to abuse, let's say necessarily in an intimate partner relationship, but there could be where you're, you know, doing things to the children. You know, so it's going to come out
Right.
because those, you know, having gone through something like that is traumatizing.
Very, very
You know, so-
traumatizing.
and the victim, a lot of victims say, look, I want to protect myself. This is never going to happen to me again. And so they begin to act out
Oh, man.
in ways that can be abusive.
That's very traumatizing, like you said. And then the other thing I find that with domestic violence, it's psychological, right? But then on the other side of it, when you think about it, it can be confusing in the sense that oftentimes people think that domestic violence victims are only women,
Right?
and that's not the case.
No.
So talk to me a little bit about that from the man's perspective.
Yeah, from the man's perspective, I beat your I beat your father up, I beat your brother up. You know, like I bust out windows. You know, I did all kind of things that
You
we say.
personally?
Me
or this is
personally.
what, wow, okay.
Me personally. This is all kind of things that, you know, typically you say, you would hear a woman say that, you know, that the guy did this to me
And this
did
was
that to
learned
me.
behavior, something
This
that
was
you had
learned
experienced?
behavior, you know, where I decided that I would not get beat again.
Wow.
So I
you then became the abuser to
Right.
protect yourself.
right.
Wow.
But then it
interesting how that
became conscious.
Yeah,
It became conscious. So
Mm-hmm.
now I'm doing this consciously.
you're aware of it.
I'm aware
Yeah,
of me assaulting men.
that's not good.
No, it's not.
So in a situation like that, because that's unique, because men, you know, they're built to have the tough exterior. They're built to be led on to be strong and not show signs of weakness. So in a sense, you had an advantage. Like you said, you were aware of what you were doing because no one is going to talk about that. No one is going to report that. No one is going to call the police.
Well, there was some arrest made.
Okay.
Yes, because my behavior was out of control.
Wow.
So
Can you guys believe this, or is this is new to me? Wow.
with this,
Can you see this woman?
no,
Beat
because
up?
people say, what's the profile?
Yeah.
You looking for a profile and there is not one
That's
profile.
true. Yeah.
It can happen to anybody. Just because the guy's 6'4", or whatever, heavy set, it doesn't matter. I'm only 5'4", you know.
Wow.
And I had some tall, muscular boyfriends at the time, you know, and I was not afraid to hit them or do whatever I wanted to do to them
Wow.
in that relationship. So it doesn't have a profile.
Right.
It can happen to anyone.
That's unreal. So in a situation like that, in the situations where you had the domestic violence with the men and law enforcement were brought to the scene or brought involved, what was that? Well, I guess law enforcement were kind of used to it too, though, right? Or it didn't seem out of the ordinary.
It's
when
out of
they
the
were caught.
ordinary when you come in and lock the woman up for domestic violence. It's out of the ordinary. It's not the norm, so, but yes, there was arrest made. I had to go through the court system and all that. And one of the things about the court system is that they arrested me for assault with a deadly weapon, right? But how does that sound like domestic violence?
Oh, what was the deadly weapon? Your hands, or you used an object?
The weapon was a real weapon.
Oh.
So
yeah, no, that's not domestic.
You are shocked. See, I shock people.
Yeah.
That's what I love.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you arrest me, right, and I'm going through the court process, when you say that I'm being arrested for assault with a deadly weapon, it doesn't sound like domestic violence. It doesn't sound like I was trying to hurt my family member or close family member or my boyfriend.
Right.
It doesn't sound that. It sounds more like a stranger.
Right. Yeah.
Like I got into it with a stranger. So as, going through the process, I learned that this is domestic violence.
Right.
That you were in.
Right.
This is not just you and a stranger doing something. You could have literally hurt this person and you would never see them again. And it's going to hurt worse, of course.
Absolutely.
Because that's someone close to you, but you're going through something, but that's someone close to you. But the court system did not make it seem like that to me. I had to get educated in order to understand that this is domestic violence, literally.
Exactly.
Verbal abuse. Emotional abuse.
That's definitely
financial abuse.
Violence. Yeah.
Sexual abuse.
And that's what I was going to say, going back to the domestic violence wears many tags, because oftentimes a lot of people don't look at sexual abuse being a part of domestic abuse. So talk to me a little bit about the sexual part.
It happens in the household. It does happen in the household. And it's not just those children, sometimes with child-on-child sexual abuse, it's not just, okay, they looking at each other's body parts, they're exploring. No, another child could be actually molesting another child. It does start in the household.
I was going to say that, learned behavior.
It does start in the household, right? And so we have to be very careful to understand that our young people need to know their body parts.
Absolutely.
Right?
And they need to say something.
And they need to say something if something is wrong, right? But see, when it's mom or when it's dad and that's your family member,
it's different.
Doing this, it's going to be different.
It's different.
Dynamic.
Totally different.
We want to hurry up and sweep it under the rug.
It's totally different.
Totally different, dynamic. But we must educate our young people on good touch, bad touch.
Absolutely.
Education
is key for sure.
It's real.
Definitely.
Leave a child out there and not know that if I ask the child, okay, well, what's that? And you telling me your pop-pop, what is that?
Yeah, no.
What's your pop-pop?
It has a name.
I need you to educate the children and let them know what their body parts are, so that if something is going on, they feel confident that somebody touched me on my chest or somebody touched me on my behind.
Absolutely.
We lack in our conversations at the dinner table.
No, we definitely need to bring back the dinner table conversations and just checking in on a regular basis. Yeah. Just having those conversations, whether it's at the dinner table or not. It's conversations that need to be had.
Yes, ma'am.
Also, I was reading something when I was doing my research, and you said something to the effect of, you never tell your victims to leave.
Yeah.
Explain that to me, and what was your thinking behind that?
I was the abuser, so I'm coming for you.
So what does that mean?
I know where you are. I know what time you go to work. I know what time you pick up the children.
Oh, wow.
I know what time you go to the grocery store. I know where you go to fill a gas tank up. I know everything about you. So where are you going?
So that's what you're educating.
Absolutely.
The victims.
Cannot just leave that relationship.
So what is your advice?
You must devise a plan.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah.
You must devise a plan.
Okay.
And your plan must be secret. You can't go to the abuser and say, I'm leaving you, and leaving you. Because you might come out in a body bag. Right?
That's deep, yeah.
Because I know where you are.
Yeah.
You got to call 911 to come to you. I'll be at the spot before 911 even gets there.
Wow.
So telling
it's just mind-boggling just to hear you say it, but just from a woman's perspective on the abuser's side.
That's right.
But it's real.
It's absolutely real.
It's so real.
This is completely real.
Wow.
This is nothing to play with.
So do me a favor. Look into that camera, and what advice would you give a victim and or an abuser who's watching, who feels trapped and can't get out, what would be the first step?
The first step would be, you know, of course, if you are going through something like that, you want to feel comfortable with reaching out to somebody. Everybody is not on the set saying I was the victim and the abuser. This is very unique. You're not going to find this in a lot of places. So, given my story, I'm able to help the victim or the abuser navigate what it is that you need to navigate in terms of breaking that cycle that we call domestic violence. And of course, you know, victims can call 1-800-799-SAFE.
Okay.
You know, 1-800-799-SAFE. Victims can call that number and try to get current resources in your state to help you with domestic violence situation. But if you are an abuser, there's really not many places for you to go but to jail.
Straight and simple.
Period.
Absolutely.
And it's ridiculous, but okay.
Absolutely. So no, thank you for that. Thanks
you.
for educating us on that. So for someone who wanted to start counseling or therapy, or how would one go to get into domestic violence, Wears Many Tags organization?
Yes, should I talk back in that camera
Yes,
again?
ma'am.
Yes, hello people.
I love it.
You can reach me at, I'm on Instagram, I'm on, you know, Facebook, I'm on Twitter, and all you have to do is just type in DVWMTS. DVWMTS, and everything about me in your Google search will come up to be able to reach out and get help. You just want to get some advice.
Absolutely. That's what I was going to say.
You
The
just
advice is-
really want to get some advice, get a second opinion. You know, victims are shocked, abusers are shocked when they hear my story. You just want to chime in and say, okay, is this really happening to me?
Exactly. Yeah, you just want to make
That's
sure
your number
that
one question. Like,
you're not going crazy.
what am
Exactly.
I actually going through here? Is this what I'm experiencing? It's not for you to say, okay, so let me get you the money so you can start leaving, because victims go into shock when you do that. They be shocked and paranoid and scared when we approach them like that.
I can imagine.
So the best way is just, you know, what are those questions that you
just
know
a friendly advice.
that you want to answer? Let me help you answer some of those questions for yourself. Victims and abusers, women, men, teens, boys, and girls. You know, just chime in and get your questions answered.
I believe that.
That's the first place to, and one of the best spaces to start with a victim, because you don't want to force them to leave. They may not be ready for that. And they could be getting beat all night long.
That's true.
But they're not ready for that, though.
And that's the hard part. That's
That
the
really is the
confusing
hard
part. Because one on the outside will look and say, well, either they like the environment that they're in and they want to stay there, but that's not necessarily the case.
That's not necessarily
like you
the
said,
case.
They just don't have the plan
They just
or
don't.
the education.
That's right. That's right.
To make the necessary steps.
That's right.
To
You're
get out of that
absolutely right, sis.
situation.
You're
Perfect.
absolutely. I think you're getting educated
I
tonight.
am getting educated, and that's what this platform is about.
Right.
Is to inspire,
That's
uplift,
right. That's
educate,
right.
motivate, everything.
That's right. That's right.
So one last time, give everybody your social media handles.
Okay, reach me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at DVWMTS. You can just pull that up on your Google search, and all of our information will come up for the audience to chime in. And you can do it in secret. Nobody has to know
Absolutely.
that
I love
you've reached out to me.
I love that.
Nobody has to know. I do
Perfect.
not play with that, because that's very serious
It's a safe
when we're
place.
talking about helping somebody flee.
Perfect.
Domestic
Thank you
violence.
so much.
You're welcome.
So you guys heard it here. Be sure to check out Domestic Violence, Wears Many Tags, and you can reach out anonymously. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this quick break. Do you or anyone you know have a business or a brand you want to promote? Would you like to be a guest or be a part of our studio audience? If so, contact us at thechelleyroyshow@gmail.com or contact us on Instagram at The Chelley Roy Show. Can't wait to hear from you guys. Thank you guys. Welcome back to the Chelley Roy Show. My next guest is a retired captain of the Metropolitan Police Department. He's also founder and CEO of Haythe Executive Transportation Service. You guys help me welcome Mr. Anthony Haythe. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, sir.
Well, I appreciate being here, Shay.
Absolutely. It's an honor to have you here, being as though Haythe 1 and Haythe 2 is on the move.
Always.
Always on the move.
Right.
Awesome. So there's a lot to talk about, as always, but not a lot of time to do it. So let's start from the beginning and tell us who Anthony Haythe is and what's your story.
All right. Anthony Haythe is a native Washingtonian. Grew up in D.C. in the Northwest section. Raised on 12th Street, 1220 12th Street. I always like to give my shout out. I see my friend over here used to work.
Like, what's that?
Nah, he used to do part-time employment in the building that I actually grew up in.
Give it up. You can give it up.
Native Washingtonian. Grew up with nothing. Always wanted something. I just had the focus and the drive to try to get to where I needed to be in my life. So,
man, that's an understatement. You definitely have the drive.
I appreciate it.
The determination and the focus.
Yep.
So we're going to start from the beginning and then work our way up to where we are now. So you started your career as a police officer, as a police cadet, right?
Yes, correct.
Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, the police cadet program was a program designed to get inner city youth off the street into a business or work type environment. I started at the age of 17. I was a high school senior at McKinley Tech High School.
Wonderful.
It was either that or the military for me. That's the way I looked at it. I figured I needed to do something to keep me focused, to keep me working, because a lot of my friends just went the other way.
Right.
I was one of the few, not few, but one of many that actually made it out. I wanted to make sure that I was focused, and the police cadet program did that. It took me in. We learned how to be a police officer at a young age, and by the time I turned 20, I was sworn in as a police officer in the Metropolitan Police Department.
I love that. Give it up for him, you guys. And thank you for your service, 30 years of service. So thank you so very much.
30 years plus 3 years as a cadet. 33 years.
Thank you so much for your service.
I appreciate it, Chelley. Thank you.
It's very important, and I feel like we need those times back. Like back in the day, we had the police cadet programs in school. We had the fire cadet program. We don't have those programs anymore.
Well, those programs are back.
They are, okay.
Yes, the police cadet program is back. I'm not sure about the fire cadet program, but the police cadet program is back, and they're turning out some good officers. If you start at a young age like that, in my opinion, you learn more. You're better prepared to know what you're faced with, especially if you're from the District of Columbia.
Absolutely.
I always felt like the police department needed folks that were from the city, that know the city,
that
know how to deal with the youth of the city. That's always been something that I was very strong about and believe that makes a better police department, in my opinion.
I so agree, because it's hard to police and canvass a neighborhood that you're not familiar with.
Exactly.
So I completely agree, 100%.
Exactly, 100%. I think if you're from the city, in my opinion, and I'm not talking down on anyone that's not from the city, but if you're from the city and you come from the environment from which you police, you do a better job at it. You know what to expect. You know how to deal with folks that have went through the same thing that you may have went through.
Absolutely. No, I agree 100%. And listening to you speak and looking at some of the documentary of our next guest that's going to be coming up, you guys remind me of the type of police that we need. You know, getting into the neighborhoods, building those relationships, taking off, your gun and your badge and playing basketball and, just having those conversations with the kids in the neighborhood.
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
That's totally what it's about. Getting into the neighborhood, like you're saying, conversing with the people that you're actually going to be protecting or dealing with.
Absolutely.
Buying them ice cream, buying the little kids ice cream from the ice cream truck.
Yes.
That's the way I went through when I was first assigned as a police officer. I went over to the 5th District. I got to know the neighborhood. I knew everybody on my beat, from the parents to the little kids and everything. That's the way you get it done. That's the best way to get it done.
That's what we need. You guys can clap it up on that one. That's so important. Y'all well done. And you should be smiling. So now let's talk about that hard work that you put in to make it to captain. Everybody's not able. That's hard work, that's dedication, and I know along with that assignment comes a lot of responsibilities, a lot of stress, a lot of time away from your family. How were you able to balance such a huge task and being a husband and a father?
Well, it was tough. It was tough. As you mentioned, I was assigned as the acting captain, captain of the homicide branch back in 2015. I went to homicide in 2012. Homicide was the best job that I had on the police department, bar none.
Really?
Yes,
How
just
so?
serving. Just because you're serving, you feel like you're getting something done. When you close that case or when one of your detectives close that case, it is a great feeling to look at a family or watch a detective look at a family and say, we just arrested the person that killed your loved one. It's a great feeling, especially if you're from the city. Right.
Yeah. Thank you for clearing that up because my mom was a victim of gun violence.
Yes.
And so when you said working homicide was the best place you ever worked, I'm like, how so?
Exactly.
So thank you for clearing that up because that is the best feeling, getting justice for your loved one.
Right. It's got to be, it's a great feeling just to see the look on some of the folks. Of course, you can't bring the person back.
Absolutely.
We understand that, but you give them a sense of closure, and it has to be the best feeling. And the guys that actually work in that unit, folks don't know the dedication, the hard work, and everything they put into it. I know Mitch does.
We appreciate you guys. Yeah, I appreciate Mitch too. Definitely appreciate you guys. So now, let's flip over to you retiring.
Yes.
How do you know when it's that time to retire? When did you know enough was enough?
Well,
you were ready to retire.
I planned early on. I knew that to be able to retire, I had to reach the age of 50. I knew that. So I knew that. So about a year out, I started to plan. I told my wife I would be leaving when I turned 50. A lot of folks didn't believe it. A lot of folks
couldn't believe it.
Right. A lot of folks didn't believe it. They thought I was going to stick around. So I actually planned it out financially. I thought I was, prepared for it. Talking to her, my wife, she was okay with it. And it's a feeling. It's like an internal feeling that tells you that's it. You've done enough. You're going to miss the job, because for me to sit here and say that I don't miss the people on the job, I could never say that, because I do. You're going to miss the relationships, but you got to realize that you can still maintain those relationships.
Of course.
And you can still reach out. You can still keep abreast of what's going on within the city.
Of course.
Being from the city, you care about the city. I'm sure my wife has heard me say plenty of times, man, I love D.C. D.C. is my spot. I mean, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
So it just was an internal feeling telling me it was time to go. I realized it, and it was no need for me to stay. I would be doing a disservice to everyone if I stayed.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
I completely understand that. So now, moving on to your next chapter, talk to me about Haythe's Executive Transportation Service.
So Capital Area Transportation Executive Services, we started in 2019.
Okay.
So I started a year before I retired because I wanted to get into something that I knew transportation is going to be here.
Absolutely.
It's not going anywhere.
Not going anywhere.
Folks are always going to need rides to the airport. They're always going to want to go to the wineries, weddings. There's always going to be a need for transportation, whether it's a funeral, ladies' night out, men's night out,
Absolutely.
just anything. So I started that. We were into real estate a little bit. I just got tired of dealing with tenants, to be honest.
Yes.
So we
That's a
pretty much,
process.
exactly. So we pretty much got rid of the properties that we had.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not going to take this money and blow it, to be honest with you. So I decided to purchase my first vehicle, which was the Mercedes Sprinter.
Nice.
I didn't think that it will grow to the, we're not done yet. But
Absolutely not.
I didn't think it would
Case
grow.
1 and case 2
Yeah,
is
case
on
1,
the move.
hopefully be a
Case
case
3
3
is
at some
coming.
point, right? So I didn't think it would grow to the point that it has now, because I'm getting calls
But you
regularly.
should have. You guys
just
are
didn't think it.
people.
Right.
You're a people person.
Yeah.
You're hospitable. You're humble.
Yeah.
You've been about service all your life. So
Right, that's true.
I don't know why you didn't think that it would do well.
Well, it's doing pretty
I'm
good.
excited for you.
I am,
I'm super
you know.
excited for you guys. So what would you say is Kate's specialty? So I know you named a few different reasons people may need transportation.
Okay.
But what do you feel like is Kate's specialty?
It's the service. When we show up, we're going to show up dressed. This is how I dress
Yes.
when I show up
Zoom
to
in
take
on this,
someone to
guys.
the airport.
This is
Yes,
what business
right.
owners look like.
This is
Yes.
how I dress. Even if I'm just taking you to the airport, I'm going to be dressed in a suit and tie. That's
As you
just how
should.
it is. Now, sometimes, honestly, you may catch me with the pants and the jacket and no tie, but I'm dressed.
Absolutely.
95% I'm going to have a tie on. It's
As
just
you
that simple.
should.
I don't care who the clientele, who the person is. This is how I'm going to dress. Doesn't matter. So I think our specialty is showing up on time,
Mm-hmm.
dressed appropriately. I believe in catering to my client.
I love
There's no arguing with the client. If the client wants to stop here and go to the store, then that's what you do.
I
If the
love
client wants you to have a dozen of roses in the vehicle, a bottle of champagne,
make it happen.
that's what we do. We've done that. We
love
cater to our clients.
So you
That's our
work for
specialty.
the client smile.
That's right. I want to see them
love that.
smile. I want them to get in the vehicle and feel comfortable. I have clients, ladies, men who have gotten in that vehicle, probably talked about some very secretive things.
Yes.
But I would never repeat it, and I would never put their name out there.
Absolutely.
That's one of the things that I even talk to about some of the folks that drive for me. You cannot keep your
That's
clients
true.
anonymous. Don't mention their names. Whatever they said, don't mention it to no one.
That's true.
So that's
'Cause
what pretty
you
much
will
our
be
specialty
privy to certain conversations.
Exactly.
I know that's true.
Exactly.
That's true.
Yep.
And so my next question, which I think you already answered it, was going to be, what do you feel like separates you from all of the other transportation services, and why should someone like myself or anybody
Right.
else use your service?
Well, to start, I would say pretty much kind of what I just said.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that we give a service, not to say that other transportation companies
Mm-hmm.
do not give similar services, because they do.
Mm-hmm.
I have mentors, and that's one thing that people should always get when they start a business. I have mentors that have done this,
Yes.
that have showed me the way. I want to give a couple of shout outs.
Go ahead.
Anthony Johnson, retired MPD.
Yep,
Got to give him
right
a shout
into that
out.
camera.
Vince Tosin,
Yep.
retired MPD. Got to give them a shout out. These are folks that I can pick up the phone and call. Hey, look, what you think about this situation?
And you need that.
Sylvester Hackney, got to give him a shout out. All of these guys have pretty much taken me under their wing and showed me the way. So I'm not too big of a person to not seek advice.
None
So-
of us are, but you
and-
have to be open to it.
Right. Yeah, you got to be
Definitely
open
have
to
be
it.
open to it.
And I like to, someone asked me recently about competing.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing was, I'm not competing against anyone. It's me against myself.
Absolutely.
Me against myself. I will help the next person. There are other transportation companies that may call me and ask me for advice. I give them the advice.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I want to see everybody eat. That's always
That's
my
what I was
slogan.
going to say. It's not going to hurt you or the next business to basically share or
Right.
help. It's not going to hurt you at all.
Oh, not at all. And it
So-
actually helps me.
Absolutely.
I mean, when someone calls me, what you think what kind of rate should I charge for this, or what do you think I should do in this situation? I give them the information. This is not hurting me. It's helping them. It makes me feel good. I have mentors, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem with mentoring anyone else.
No, I absolutely agree.
Right.
So if someone wanted to book with you guys, where would they go to book a service or book the transportation? What's your website?
Okay, the website is www.captranexec.com. The website is up. It's actually being updated. by Turner Business Solutions. A good friend of mine is updating my website. It looks nice now, but it will look even better within a week or so. So shout out to Sinead Turner, who's actually doing my website over. They can go there. I'll tell my phone number. They can call me at 301-437-1031. It's listed on my Sprinter. They can also go to Kate's_transportation_ on Instagram. Anthony Haythe, Haythe Sr. on Facebook. So we are pretty much on all the social media platforms.
Perfect.
So we're reachable.
Perfect. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Anthony Haythe. So you guys be sure to check out Kate's Transportation. You can go to Instagram or Facebook, Anthony Haythe Sr. We'll be back after this quick break. Do you or anyone you know have a business or a brand you want to promote? Would you like to be a guest or be a part of our studio audience? If so, contact us at thechelleyroyshow@gmail.com or contact us on Instagram at The Chelley Roy Show. Can't wait to hear from you guys.
When them bullets hugged your body, it was hard to spare my tears. I still forget the times that your presence isn't here anymore. All I do is think back. All I do is think back to the good times we had. To the good times we had. When I see you on my mind. When I see you on my mind. Oh, yeah. All I do is cry.
Welcome back, guys. I am your host, Chelley Roy. My next guest is a retired DC homicide detective turned filmmaker. You guys help me welcome Mr. Mitch Credle. Welcome.
Hey, what's happening?
It is such an honor to have you here.
It's an honor to be sitting here with you.
Really?
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much.
I am. I'm very proud of you.
Why?
Look where you are.
I know. I've come a long way.
Yeah, you're interviewing me. I'm sitting
I
across
know,
from you.
right?
This is real cool. I like this.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's this your studio.
Thank you.
I like this.
Thank you.
So you're an inspiration to many.
Say it. Thank you. And I appreciate that because everything that I intend to give off, everything that I do is intentional, and I hope that the way that I'm presenting it is received on the other end. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you so very much. You have always been so humble. You inspire me. I mean, like we were talking earlier, you know, everybody has their own way of, you know, presenting and promoting whatever they're doing on social media. You just stay in your lane, you have your own way of doing things, and people receive you. And so I remember reaching out to you a couple years ago. Remember, I reached out to you asking you to help me work on a project that wasn't really along the realms of what you normally do. And you said, you know, what is it that you're trying to do? Send me an idea of what it is, and I'll let you know if I can help you. And you did that.
I mean, that's what
that
it's
meant
about.
a lot.
Yeah.
That is what it's about, but we don't get that often.
Well, that's what I want to give to people.
And I
that's
appreciate that.
That's just me being me.
And you gave that to me. You definitely gave that to me.
I appreciate that.
So I know we went a little bit off track. So for everybody that's listening and watching, tell everybody who Mitch Credle is and what's your story.
Oh, wow. I am Mitch Credle. I'm
Yes,
a
you
retired
are.
homicide detective, turned filmmaker. But before I got into film, I just did a lot of writing. And I jumped out there with a lot of writing on Facebook just to see if I can entertain people with stories.
Okay.
And I created some crazy, crazy stories on Facebook back in 2009 and 2010 called Hood Soaps.
Hood soap.
Hood Soaps. And matter of fact, it's still on Facebook. And I can't remember the other story, but it was just a bunch of humor.
Okay.
And I saw how people were like enjoying the stories. And when I stopped writing the stories, people were like hitting me up, contacting me. I'm like, I like this mess. They're
That's
like, yeah,
funny.
man. So I just kept writing, and that's what inspired me to write my books. Just writing on
Gotcha.
Facebook, realized that I can build an audience, because I was new to social media, 29 and 2010.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I jumped out there and started writing my books, and people enjoyed those, and that led into film.
That led into film. Okay, so before we go to film, if I may, take a step back. So thank you as well for your service.
Sure.
On the Metropolitan Police Department,
You're welcome.
serving over. Yes, give it up, you guys. Give it up. As I stated before, being a police officer isn't for everybody.
It's
It
not.
definitely isn't. So if you can, walk me through what your first 90 days on the force was like. That
Oh,
experience.
wow. I can tell you now, I know my first week in the police academy, I wanted to quit.
Wow.
And I say that because I had no idea it was so structured for like military training,
I got you. Okay.
and I couldn't deal with the discipline and the structure of it.
Okay.
You know, Lieutenant Duckett, who's now a friend of mine.
I was going to ask
But
you, is he still around?
Yeah, he's a good friend. He's retired, but you know, he constantly in my face, yelling, screaming, making all this noise. And I wasn't the type of recruit that was up to date with cleaning the brass.
Yeah.
The line on your shirt had to be neat and
Oh,
straight
wow.
with what. Man, I only
That
remember
is real militant.
Yeah, and I wasn't used to that kind of stuff. You know, I come from Bella Gardens, lived uptown, so I wasn't used to a lot of the discipline. And guys used to help me shine my shoes. I just couldn't get it together. And you know, but it was pretty cool. But he explained to me later on during the training that this is needed. He said, I know you from DC, I know you know a lot of people. He the one that told me that you're gonna make a good police officer because you know the city.
Yeah.
He said, but you have to be prepared for that.
Absolutely.
He said, I'm getting you prepared for when you're dealing with a situation where someone may spit in your face or someone may do something to you and you don't react. He said, I'm getting you for the discipline to handle that.
Absolutely.
You won't go off and do something that you may want to do. And it's all about discipline and structure. And as the academy went on, I started enjoying it. But that first couple of weeks was hard.
Wow.
Yeah, I wasn't.
can imagine.
Hey man, I don't want nobody yelling and screaming at me. That just wasn't. Nah.
Yeah, that's hard. I don't
And he's
know
like in your
how-
face. You know, in your face, and he's spitting in your face. And Lieutenant Duck was like a little strong dude, and you want to fight him, but you can't.
Oh,
You
man.
know,
I
so
couldn't
it
imagine.
was tough, but I respect him for that, and I respect the academy discipline and the structure that it instilled in me, because that helped me when I got on the street. I was able to
Right.
deal with the name calling.
Absolutely.
The-
You have to
the hate from the community.
picking up your exterior.
The hate from the community where I knew people and loved people, and I was able to deal with all that because of the structure I learned in the academy.
So speaking of that, talking about becoming a police officer in the city or the community in which you grew up in, how was that received? So, you know, because oftentimes, most of the times, people don't really like police officers. So there's always something negative to say. So how was that received?
I think
You know,
for
from
me,
your peers.
I think for me it was somewhat easy because before I joined the police department, I was coaching youth basketball and football in the city.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
I earned a reputation of, you know, winning city, national championships, dealing with youth in the city. And the funny thing about it is when I joined the police, when I left the academy, they assigned me to the district where I was raised up in Northwest.
okay.
So now I know everybody in the community.
Awesome.
So then they put me on the beat where the Boys and Girls Club was, the 14th of Clifton, where I knew everyone.
Absolutely.
And my first day on the beat in the police car, I pull up on the scene and guys are on Clifton Terrace out there gambling. So I get out the car in full uniform and they started laughing at me. Because they knew I was a basketball coach. They had no idea I was a police officer.
Oh, okay.
So they
Gotcha.
kept gambling. And I'm sitting there like, you guys see the uniform, man?
They thought it was a costume.
I don't know what they thought. It wasn't Halloween. But my partner, AJ Gonzalez, he's laughing. And he just, he stayed back. And I'm sitting there trying to talk to these. I'm like, dudes, you gambling, this is illegal. They're like, go ahead, man, what are you doing that on? And man, you can't be the police. We just saw you coaching basketball 2 days ago. You can't be the police.
Oh, wow.
So what I had to do was I had to instill some type of respect. And
Absolutely.
I had to let them know where the line was going to be drawn.
Absolutely.
And so that first incident, I didn't arrest anyone, but I took all their money. I took all their dice. I put it on the book for, back then we had something called suspected proceeds of crime. And I told them when I come through the block, all I want is respect.
Happen. Yeah.
All I want is respect.
Absolutely.
And they respect that I was allowing them to establish something with me, opposed to just jumping out, putting handcuffs on them. And my partner said, you know what, Mitch, you handle that the way you want to handle it, and that's going to go a long way in the community. So that helped me moving forward in that community because I was policing a community that I was very familiar with.
And that's very helpful. I mean, like we were talking about earlier, you go a long way with treating people how you want to be treated. So just leading with respect, I think is major.
Yeah, it does. And just like Anthony mentioned earlier, being from D.C., it helps. But when you're from D.C., you can't act like you're not from D.C.
Oh, no, you can't.
Because when you act like you're not from D.C., that's when the community loses a lot of respect for you. And like even today in retirement, I still get phone calls on homicides.
Really?
And I will call detectives who I know, who I can trust. I give them that information because people know that.
So you still get phone calls today to assist on cases?
I still get phone calls.
Oh, that's wonderful.
But
that
people
says a
know
lot.
this information I would take to my grave. I mean, I have so much up here now. If you can Anthony can tell you.
I can imagine.
It's things we will take to our grave because people trust us. It's nothing no one could ever do to get certain information from me about a case, about a person. And when I call certain homicide detectives, because I have that relationship with them, they're not going to ask me who told me this. But they know I'm not going to tell them. They know. And it's just the respect that we have. So that's how I handle things when families call me. I don't even let the detectives know who the families are unless the families want to talk to the detectives.
Good.
You just want to build a relationship with people, and I just want to continue that. I'm not
That's important.
Yeah, I'm this trust thing, nah. But
That's
I can't
really
speak for others, but I'm going to live and die by that.
Well, I appreciate that. That's really important, especially being on the victim side.
Yeah, you have to
know what
because
I mean?
they need us.
It's very important, and that brings me a lot of comfort. So with that being said, I know you have had your share of high-profile cases. If you're able to, is there a case to this day that still haunts you or still pains you?
Yes. The murder of Nanyo Dante Manny.
Wow.
It happened in Upper Northwest. And that case bothers me because when that case first occurred, back then in homicide, I was working a major case, cold case. And we normally handle most high-profile cases, cases where there's 3 or more murders. But we also had a unit that handled murders of children.
Okay.
So this particular murder occurred in the same neighborhood where the Boys and Girls Club was. So I knew everyone in that community. In every case I participated in that community, we were able to make closures.
Okay.
Because I either knew people or the detective. I turned to one of the people. I played some type of role in helping the investigations. But when this case occurred, they gave it to the baby death unit. And, I'm like, let me have the case. They're like, no, let them have it. So as the investigation went on, they were doing the investigation, not saying nothing, they did anything wrong. It's just I believed I would have been able to get more information.
Because you were more involved in the community.
This is a 9-year-old kid. So as a couple years went by, they finally said, Mitch, why don't you look into it now?
A couple years?
Yeah, a couple years later.
See, that
I'm like, hold that for a minute. So I started looking into it, and I was able to develop some information on the case. And it was just unfortunate that the information I was able to develop, guy who I believe was involved was someone who was doing some time in Virginia. Because he got arrested on some other stuff. And it just bothered me because I wanted to be involved at the beginning. And just talking to the aunt, the aunt got so frustrated. She said, Mitch, I respect you. But I don't want anyone to call me about this case anymore because I don't feel as though that.
Because you get your hopes up. And
yeah, she got her hopes up. And, you know, and when she met me, first thing she said was, why didn't you have this case at the beginning? Mm-hmm. And I said, I don't call the shots. I'm a detective, I'm not a supervisor. And it really bothered me because it was a 9-year-old kid who was just outside playing with his friends, his sisters, whoever, and some dude stood in the corner shooting at someone else who was down up on the upper level where the kids were. And a lot of people who shoot distance away, they don't know when you shoot from a distance, the bullets veer off. So he's way down on the corner shooting at the guy up here, and the bullet hit the kid down on the lower part, and
and that's so unfortunate. And anytime a child is murdered, we all can relate because either we have children or family members who are around that age. So it definitely hits close to home.
So it bothered me because as of today, no one has been charged with that case.
Really? Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, that was my biggest fear. Of my mom's case never being solved. That's the worst fear ever.
Yeah, and we're not going to close every case. Being a cold case, we have 4,000 cases sitting in the file room, and we're not going to close every case. But not being able to close every case does not mean that we didn't do our job.
You didn't do your job. That's
because
fair.
That's fair. Everyone is not going to give you information on cases, and we just was in a position whereas we had so many cases piling up because early on in the era, as my documentary, as you may have seen, we had so many murders. So the cases kept piling up. So now as years go on, we investigate new cases. A lot of old cases are still piling up. It's hard, and no homicide unit in the United States have enough personnel in major cities, have enough personnel to handle the cases you're going to get because murders constantly pile up. It's not. People always think it's the detectives not doing their jobs.
And I appreciate you clarifying that.
It's not the detectives.
Myself and some of the other families, which is very helpful. So thank you for sharing that. The other thing I was going to mention, you have so many amazing, so many wonderful projects. I don't know if you guys have seen any of Mitch's projects, but he's on YouTube, Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, Boss 1, Boss 2, Cocaine, Crack, and Corruption. And you guys definitely need to check out 12 Years in Hell. So talk to me a little bit about 12 Years in Hell. When I saw it, and I'm trying not to tear up because when you and I were just talking a few minutes ago, just the song, the intro to the documentary, before I realized what the title of it was, that's all I was doing was crying. My soul was crying.
That's my son's song,
Absolutely amazing, well written. I couldn't get past case 1 because I could relate with the daughter. Again, my mom was murdered, so I could relate to that entire situation. So how did you come up with the name? What does 12 Years in Hell mean, and what does that represent?
12 Years in Hell represent an era in the city. It's probably DC's most violent era ever.
Okay.
During a period of 12 years from the beginning of 1988 through the end of 1999, 4,612 people were murdered here in DC.
That's a lot.
To include police officers. So that was an era that was pretty tough in the city. It was right after crack had just hit the city. It was all the way towards when crack sort of slowed down and gentrification started. There was just a lot of things going on, and a lot of people were getting murdered, and innocent people. It was just so much. Guys were protecting themselves. It was just so much going on. So that violent era was most definitely something I wanted to touch on because dealing with a lot of youth in my youth summer camps for 2 years, they didn't have any history of DC. All they knew was Rayful Edmond.
Yes.
All they knew was Alpo, you know? So, and they were glorifying those guys. And I'm sitting there asking them other questions about DC. They didn't know anything. So that's what inspired me to put a story together that shares some of the history in DC. And I wanted to do it with people who lived it, people who worked it, and people who suffered from it, opposed to using politicians, celebrities, analysts. Man, I ain't want to use none of them people. No disrespect.
No,
I wanted to use real people who can give real accounts of what they went through during that particular era. And
you did an amazing
it served my purpose because a lot of mothers, fathers, a lot of people have called me telling me they watched it with their children, educating them about that era that so many of us either forgot on purpose, or we just
Blocked it out.
Just blocked it out, exactly.
Job well done.
Thank you, I appreciate
Job
it.
well done. If you guys, yes, clap it up for sure. If you guys haven't seen 12 Years in Hell, make sure you go to YouTube. It's an amazing documentary. So really quickly, what's next? I know you got Pro Se Litigator. I know you're working with two of the top networks, Dateline, A&E. What's next, Mitch?
Like I say, the Dateline and A&E stuff will be out. Something gonna come out on Stars later this year on a case that I was working with down in Georgia.
Okay.
Going back and forth in 2015 before I retired. The Antoine Jones story, Pro Se Litigator, we're gonna start filming that next month in August. We're gonna do a 10-day period of film. We're gonna
can't wait.
We're gonna film a pilot. It's a real good story, and you have to have Antoine on your show.
I will.
You
I
have
will.
to.
You have to make the connection.
He has a real good story. Of course, he lived that life years ago, but now he's probably one of the top youth workers in D.C. He has a youth organization, Always Hope Inc., and I respect that for him because he's trying so hard to fix some of the things that he damaged years ago. And I be saying to him, sometimes you can't do it all,
right.
But he's driven to serve people in the community that he helped tear up because he was a kingpin.
Absolutely.
And his story,
start somewhere.
yeah, he was a major kingpin, and he's changed. So now we're going to tell his story.
I can't wait.
And the government put the illegal GPS system on his vehicle years ago that got him arrested, and he was facing life without parole. And his case is a landmark case, United States versus Antoine Jones, whereas the law enforcement have to get search warrants in order to put GPS systems on your vehicles, but they did it without a search warrant, which led to them enhancing the investigation, which led to his arrest. So he represented himself in court, had 3 trials, and he, ended up accepting something that got him out of life without parole. But he stood up for himself and he won. He represented himself as a lawyer, and he was not a lawyer, and he won.
That's great stuff.
And he impressed the judges. He impressed a lot of people with just his self-representation. And I have a lot of respect for that because he stood up for himself and what he believed, and he took on the federal government.
That's awesome. Really,
He took on the federal government and he won.
I can't wait. So
we're going to tell that story.
I can't wait. You guys be sure to be on the lookout as well. So tell everybody what your social media handles are.
Sure, everything is Mitch Credle. Credle, not with an A, with an E. I'm just an old head dude. I don't get all that fancy stuff. I'm old school. Mitch Credle, that's it. Simple as that.
Thank you so much, Mitch. I want to thank you so much to all of my guests, Miss Queenafi, Mr. Anthony Haythe, Mr. Mitch Credle. Thank you so much to everyone who continues to support me. You guys have a great night.